Hello, and thank you for listening. My name is Luke Mardigian, and you are listening to Be Insured, where we talk about business, leadership, and insurance. That way, on your worst day, when you need it the most, you will be insured. As a business owner, you want to make sure that your employees are well taken care of and that your family is well taken care of. And when it comes to offering the right health coverage, there are a lot of factors to consider. Could a group health policy actually be the solution that you need? On today's show, we cover the pros and cons of group health policies and detail what you need to consider in order to determine if it's the right fit for your business. And I'm excited to be joined by my co-host,
Eric Gestring, the Mardigian Agency Farm Bureau.
And our expert guest,
Ted Hollanback, Financial Technology.
Ted, can you tell our audience a little bit more about group health policies and what they entail?
Great question. A lot of employers use group health insurance as a tool to draw and retain their workforce. Health insurance is an important piece of our lives and something I think a lot of people take for granted. And it's challenging for employers because it can be such a costly undertaking that can be unappreciated by some employees. So
yes.
Are you saying there's an entitlement issue?
I think when the Affordable Care Act came out, it was pretty clear that we as Americans have been very spoiled with our health insurance. I know I grew up, my dad worked for General Motors, and he had
really good,
the best of the best. I mean, it was, I don't even know if they ever paid anything at any point for anything. I mean, if we needed something, we just went to the doctor because we just didn't care. I mean, it wasn't even a thought in our minds. So we've definitely been spoiled. If you're a business owner and you're thinking about getting a group health policy, what are the requirements that you have to meet? You can't just go get it for yourself.
Correct. You do have to have at least one common law employee that is not a family member or family relation. But if, Luke, if you're a business owner and you just have your one office staff that needs health insurance, you are able to go out and set up a policy just for your one employee as long as you are covered under another group health plan, perhaps under a spouse.
Okay. Yeah. So like when I started at the agency, my wife, Sarah's a nurse. She had pretty good health insurance. It was pretty cheap. Why not keep it? But then when we got the group health policy for our company, the only way I could opt out of that as the owner is if I continued to have that coverage. And, in my situation, she actually went down to per diem, lost all those benefits, and then now we're all covered under the group health policy. So it ended up working out really well for us. But those are caveats that you have to navigate, and you need an expert to really kind of help you walk through what time of life you're in and what qualifies for what. Because am I right? There's small business group health policies or small group health policies, and there's large group health policies. What's the difference between those?
Correct. It has to do with your workforce and the size of your workforce. An applicable large employer typically has more than 50 full-time equivalents.
Okay.
So it gets to be
it's complex.
It is.
Yeah. If you're anywhere in that 50 number for employees, you have to talk to somebody about it.
Sure.
Even smaller ones, you should be talking. You always should reach out to a professional about this. I think it's very, very detail oriented to sit down and figure this out. It would be cost effective for you and most beneficial to your employees.
Yeah. Sure. So Ted, what would you say the pros of a group health policy are? We talked about how it helps with retention and recruitment, keeping your employees satisfied, and it can provide some coverage for you. What are some other pros to group health policies?
Deductible expense for the business.
Yeah, right. So you're reducing your taxable income if you're making money.
Sure, absolutely. Even if you are an employer and you're not able to contribute a lot of money towards the employee premium, there is value to the employee to be covered under a group health plan. Number one, the coverage can be a little more comprehensive than what you can get on your own through the marketplace. A lot more what we call first dollar coverage. These are the copays that you're used to $20, $30, $40 when I see a doctor. If I go into the pharmacy, flat dollar copay on my medications. Also, the premium can be paid pre-tax through a group health plan, where if you're buying insurance on your own, this is after-tax dollars.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't either. That's cool.
And so that's if you're a business owner and you went and got a program off healthcare.gov, your own individual program or family program, then you're using your already taxed money to then pay for this program that you may or may not get a tax subsidy on.
Sure. Business owners are going to be a little bit different than your employees in a lot of cases, but yeah, there is definitely value if you can pay for your health insurance premium pre-tax.
Yeah, I think those are some great pros. Those are the main reasons why we went with a group health policy. The lower deductible is a big one.
Yeah.
And most of the individual plans I saw were, starting at $5,000 for your deductible.
Sure. I think that's the new norm.
It
right?
is,
Sure.
but for group health, there's a ton of $1,000, $2,500 options that are very affordable. Like, you're talking about a $20, $30 difference between $5,000 and $1,000.
And with the majority of our society, though, being paycheck to paycheck, are they going to be able to afford that
$5,000 deductible? Right? Yeah.
Sure.
You kind of just have to hope the hospital will take your payment plan, I guess.
Ted, what are some of the downsides of the cons of group health?
Sure. It's complex. A lot of business owners, they're great business owners. They know their business. This is just another headache, or it can be another headache if you don't have the right circle of influence to help you sort through it.
I'm curious, do you go in and present to all the employees and stuff when you set one of these up? How does it work?
Sure. Each employer is going to be a little bit different. Some employers want to, take total control over it, but for my clients, I always encourage an employee meeting. Happy to come in and talk and answer questions. An employer can usually present the plan from the standpoint of, this is what it costs, here's the highlights, but if somebody raises their hand and asks if this medication's covered and how much is it going to cost, that's a little bit more than a lot of employers, number one, want to know, and if they can, accurately answer that question.
Yeah, that's really where you need the agent there who can actually go into the plan and figure out whether that's a covered medication or not.
What are some of the cons as the employer, the business owner, the business? What do they have for cons for that? The downside for a business owner?
Sure. It can be expensive.
Yeah, because you got to pay that whole bill.
Sure.
So if you have 50 employees and they cost, with the families, maybe $2,000 each a month, you're footing out $100,000.
Sure.
And then you can recover it based upon your cost sharing with your employees,
right.
But you still got to pen that check.
Right.
And they only take cash. They don't take credit cards, health insurance companies.
Yeah. So that's a big deal. But I think in addition to that, you have to stay quite a bit more in tune with your workforce. People come and go, adds, deletes, making sure people are coming in at the right time. Your employees can lose their spouse's coverage throughout the year. So it's something that has to be
managed
on your radar all the time, always evolving.
So it's just another task on the business owner's task box, you know what I mean?
Yep,
Sure.
and it is work. That's what the few group health policies that we've written on our own as an agency, because we have appointments with Blue Cross Blue Shield, all the Blues in Spectrum. The main reason why I connected with you a few months ago, because I got my health insurance through you 10 years ago, something like that, was because I realized how much of a headache it was for my agency. And I'm like, are we really the ones best qualified to be serving these? Because they need a lot of attention and a lot of work.
Sure.
And as a business owner, you need somebody who can get you an answer right away. And it's got to be accurate the first time, because you can't mess around with people's health insurance. It's like taking money out of their pocket.
Sure. And there's also other rules that can come into play. Do I have to offer COBRA? What does COBRA really mean? Laws, rules, it's constantly evolving. So
And I'm sure you are constantly training on this, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's, something that I always, I think about with the group health policies. A lot of employers a lot of business owners are hesitant to get them because many times they get a bigger subsidy if they go to the private market than they would savings on their tax bill, depending on where they're at in the tax bracket. For large organizations, they're going to be in the top tax bracket, whether they get group health insurance or not. It doesn't really matter. So if they get a subsidy, can you talk a little bit about that? And we just had a business. We told them not to get a group health policy because their subsidies were so good. We were really surprised.
Sure. It's interesting. Large employers are kind of a whole different world. So we'll just focus on the smaller businesses, which is where I kind of specialize, which would be under the 50 employees.
Yeah.
If an employee is offered group health coverage, they essentially have to take it. They would not be able to collect a subsidy if they are eligible for a group health plan and it meets certain affordability requirements. Now, employers can be a little bit creative where if they only offer coverage to the employee, that may allow other family members to still collect the tax credit on the health insurance marketplace. So, we need to look. The business owner's going to know their employees, know their payroll. So through that information, we can help guide them to see how it may adversely affect their workforce if we were to roll out a group health plan.
Yeah, and that's just how graphic this conversation is.
Yeah.
There's so many things to consider. I have never had a group health appointment go less than an hour.
Sure.
Ever.
Yeah.
They're always, I got this one employee who has this health issue. Is that going to be okay? I have this one employee who's getting divorced right now. How is that going to, I have this one employee who
that's
has a
in
kid
remission.
who has a kid who just went through something. And I mean, it's just like the questions are nonstop. Right. What about my part-time employees? Can I give a different plan to my executives than I can to my employees? And I mean, it's just endless, this conversation.
Sure.
It's so many things to consider.
Yeah. We can get as creative as you want. Sometimes the health insurance may not be the pressing piece. It may be what do we do about if somebody gets hurt off the job and is unable to work? If we can offer a group disability program or group life insurance or even pet insurance is starting to become important to employees.
I've been asked about that.
Oh, did you know there's pet life insurance?
The
more you know.
I believe it. So employers can get creative, and workforce is turning to their employers to help them with some of these decisions because they are life decisions, and the more aspects of the employees' lives that the employer can help them address, that just creates a stronger tie to that employer-employee relationship.
And then that's what you want. If that's how you know it's going to work for you in your business, is if it's helping your employees.
Sure.
It's got to help everybody. It can't just help the owner or the owners. So some of the best factors a business owner should consider when determining the group health are obviously going to be how it's going to cater to the employees and multitude. Let's rehash those real quick.
Sure. So,
we were talking about how, it has to benefit the employee, it has to benefit the employer. We have to consider tax subsidies. You have to consider cash flow.
As a business owner,
if you don't have consistent capital on a monthly basis,
can you afford
pay
writing
cash
that
bill.
big check? Yep.
Yeah. So I think two big questions that an employer needs to kind of think about going up front into this is, how much do I want to contribute each month, and who do I want to contribute that to? Do I want to direct it just at the employee, where I'm willing to help the employee with the cost of their insurance, or do I want to expand that and help cover dependents on the plan? So I think those are big ones. Once you have an understanding of how much you can direct towards this and how you want to direct it, then you can build and figure out what benefits you'll be able to roll out to your employees.
That's awesome, Ted. Thank you so much for joining us today. And make sure you download our free report, 4 Things Every Business Owner Should Know, on beinsuredonline.com, beinsuredonline.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we will talk soon.